the man who spoke to God. And we called him from the right side of the mount, and brought him near in conversation. Surah Maryam, 1952. What becomes of a man who speaks directly with God, who hears the divine voice without a veil? How does a life defined by world-altering miracles, the parting of the sea, the striking of the rock for water, the staff that became a serpent, face the one inevitable event that no miracle can avert? And what profound, chilling secret is revealed when the angel of death finally comes for the one who was God's own confidant? Our story opens not in the palaces of Egypt, but in the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Sinai Desert. The era is one of wandering. The children of Israel, rescued from the bondage of Pharaoh by the mighty hand of God, are now a free people. Yet they are a people in exile, sentenced to 40 years of aimless roaming in a blistering sea of sand and rock. This is the generation that had witnessed the greatest signs of God's power. They saw their tyrannical oppressor and his armies drowned before their very eyes. When they were hungry, Allah sent down manna and salwa, a heavenly sustenance. When they were thirsty, their prophet Musa, Moses, peace be upon him, struck a stone with his staff and 12 springs gushed forth. They lived in a state of divine welfare, personally tended to by the Lord of the worlds. Their leader was a man of immense stature, both physically and spiritually. Prophet Musa was strong, powerful, and possessed of a righteous fire. He was Kalimullah, the one to whom Allah spoke directly. This was a unique honor, a station so high that even the angels held him in awe. He had stood on the sacred ground of Mount Tur, bathed in a divine light, and received the law for his people on holy tablets. But amidst this state of divine welfare, an old sickness began to fester in the hearts of his people. Generations of slavery in Egypt had left a deep scar on their psyche. They were physically free, but their minds still yearned for the tangible, the material, the immediate. They were a people of miracles who lacked conviction, a nation of survivors who lacked gratitude. The awe of their miraculous salvation had begun to fade under the harsh glare of the desert sun, replaced by impatience, complaint, and a dangerous nostalgia for the very land where they had been enslaved. A storm of rebellion was brewing, born not of oppression, but of ingratitude. And soon, the first signs of their final great act of defiance would appear: the golden calf and the shattered law. The ultimate divine sign for the children of Israel was meant to be the law, the sacred commandments received directly from God, which would guide them to a life of order, justice, and piety. To receive this gift, Musa, peace be upon him, ascended the holy mountain, leaving his brother Harun, Aaron, in charge. His appointment with his Lord was set, and we appointed for Musa 30 nights, and completed them with 10, and thus the time appointed by his Lord was 40 nights. Surah Al-Araf, 7:142. 40 days. To a people accustomed to instant gratification, this felt like an eternity. In Musa's absence, the seeds of rebellion sprouted into a monstrous weed. The people grew restless. They approached Harun, their voices filled with a demand that exposed the sickness in their hearts. They wanted a tangible God, something they could see and touch, just like the Egyptians they had left behind. A man among them, named the Samiri, a skilled craftsman with a talent for deception, saw his opportunity. Scholars of Tafsir narrate that he had gathered dust from the tracks of the horse of the angel Jibril, which possessed miraculous properties. He collected the people's gold jewelry, melted it down, and fashioned it into the statue of a calf. Throwing the dust upon it, the hollow statue began to make a lowing sound. The Samiri presented it to the people and declared, "This is your God and the God of Musa, but he has forgotten it." Tragically, they believed him. The nation that had been saved by the unseen God began to dance and sing in worship around a golden statue. Meanwhile, high upon the mountain, Musa received the sacred tablets, his face radiant with a divine light, his heart filled with hope for his people. When he returned, the scene that greeted him was one of utter spiritual chaos. The air, which should have been filled with the praise of God, was thick with the sounds of a wild, idolatrous festival. His reaction was one of pure, holy fury. He was overwhelmed with grief and rage at their betrayal. He seized his brother Harun by the beard, demanding to know how he had allowed this to happen. Then, in a moment of supreme anguish, he turned his attention to the sacred law he held in his hands. He raised the holy tablets above his head, his hands trembling, and he cast them down, shattering the law upon the rocks at the foot of the mountain. The shattering of the tablets was a symbol of the shattering of their covenant. The prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, who himself endured immense hardship from his own people, would often reflect on Musa's incredible patience. It is narrated that when the prophet was wronged, he once said, "May Allah have mercy upon Musa." He was annoyed with more than this, yet he remained patient. Sahih al-Bukhari, 3153. This hadith shows the immense scale of Musa's trial, a trial so severe it caused the man who spoke to God to break the very commandments he had just received. The judgment for the golden calf was swift and severe, a necessary purge to cleanse the community. But the people's arrogance was not cured. A final definitive test was about to be presented to them, a command that would determine their destiny for a generation. And then came the final, unmistakable sign of their rebellion. The promised land denied. After the terrible sin of the golden calf, the children of Israel were given a chance to redeem themselves. The ultimate goal of their long journey, the very purpose of their exodus from Egypt, was to enter the promised land, a blessed territory that Allah had ordained for them. Musa, peace be upon him, stood before his people and delivered the divine command. He reminded them of Allah's favors and called upon them to enter the Holy Land and fight the idolaters who occupied it. This was their final warning, their last opportunity to prove they were worthy of the inheritance that awaited them. Two righteous men among them, upon whom Allah had bestowed His grace, stood up and tried to encourage the people, saying, "Enter upon them through the gate, for when you have entered it, you will be victorious." But the hearts of the people were filled with cowardice. The slave mentality from their time in Egypt still clung to them. They had seen the mighty armies of Pharaoh drown, yet they were afraid of the inhabitants of the land before them. Their response to their prophet was one of the most insolent and defiant statements ever uttered by a people to their messenger. It is a moment of breathtaking arrogance, captured forever in the Quran. "O Musa, indeed within it is a people of tyrannical strength, and indeed we will never enter it until they leave it. So go, you and your Lord, and fight. Indeed, we are remaining right here." With Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:22 and 24. This was the final turning point. This was the sin that sealed their fate. It was not a sudden destruction by fire or flood. It was a more subtle, more agonizing punishment, the destruction of a dream. Their cowardice and blatant disrespect for their prophet and their Lord resulted in a divine judgment that would define them for a generation. Allah spoke to Musa, and the sentence was passed.
Then indeed it is forbidden to them for 40 years, in which they will wander throughout the land. So do not grieve over the defiantly disobedient people.
Surah Al-Ma'idah 5:26. The promised land, which was so close they could almost see it, was snatched away from them. The aftermath was a slow, dusty, aimless existence. They were sentenced to wander in the vast wilderness of the Sinai until that entire generation of freed slaves, a generation that had witnessed miracles but refused to cultivate faith, had passed away. They perished not from a cataclysm, but from a loss of purpose. They lived and died as nomads, forever walking in circles, their lives a testament to the consequence of ingratitude and cowardice. Musa himself, along with his brother Harun, would live out the rest of his days among this lost generation, leading them through the wilderness, his own heart surely aching for the home they had been denied. And so ended the dream of a generation, a people who were offered a kingdom but chose the familiar comfort of the desert, sentenced not to a sudden death, but to a slow, dusty one, forgotten by progress, but never by Allah. The final encounter. The 40 years of wandering were drawing to a close. The generation that had come out of Egypt, the generation that worshipped the calf and refused to enter the Holy Land, had all but passed away. A new generation, born in the freedom of the desert, was now ready to inherit the promise. Musa, peace be upon him, now an old man, had faithfully guided his people through their long exile. He had endured their complaints, their rebellions, and their endless ingratitude with a prophet's patience. His life's work was nearly complete. It was then that he had a visitor. This part of Musa's life is not detailed in the Quran, but it is preserved in a powerful and authentic hadith that gives us a chilling, intimate glimpse into his final moments. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, narrated this story to his companions, and it is recorded in Sahih al-Bukhari 3407. The angel of death was sent to Musa. He did not come in a terrifying, ethereal form, but as a man, to test him. When the angel told Musa he had come to take his soul, Musa's reaction was fiercely human. He was Kalimullah, the one who spoke to God, a prophet of immense power and stature. He was not ready. In a swift motion, he struck the angel, injuring his eye. "You sent me to a servant who does not want to die. Go back to him and tell him to place his hand on the back of an ox, and for every hair that his hand covers, he will be granted 1 year of life." The angel returned to Musa with this incredible offer, a chance for life to be extended by hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. It was an offer of more time, more sunsets, more breaths. But the encounter had changed Musa. The reality of his mortality was now before him. He asked the angel the ultimate question: "What will happen after that?" The angel replied, "Then comes death." In that moment, Musa realized the futility of postponement. What was the value of a few more centuries when the end was the same? His perspective shifted from the love of this fleeting life to the love of meeting his Lord. The warrior who had resisted death now submitted to it with perfect grace. He said, "Let it be now." Then he made one final, humble request. He had been denied entry into the Promised Land, but his heart still yearned for it. He prayed to Allah, asking not to be buried within it, but only to be brought near to it, humbly, at the distance of a stone's throw. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, added that if he were there, he would show the companions Musa's grave by the side of the road near a red sandhill. His grave is unmarked, its location known only to Allah, a fitting end for a prophet whose life was so uniquely intertwined with the divine, a final, intimate secret between God and the man to whom he spoke directly. The universality of death, a truth that no one can escape, is affirmed in the Quran. Profoundly, every soul will taste death, and we test you with evil and with good as a trial, and to us you will be returned. Surah Al-Anbiya, chapter 21, verse 35. Musa's final encounter teaches us that while the love of life is natural, the ultimate goal of a believer is to reach a state where the love of meeting Allah is even greater. A mercy beyond the grave was the death of Musa, peace be upon him, was not the end of his story. It was merely the end of his earthly trial. His true station and the immense mercy Allah had for him would be revealed in a spectacular fashion centuries later in an event that would forever link him to the final prophet, Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This revelation occurred during the miraculous night journey and ascension, Isra and Miraj, when Prophet Muhammad was taken from Mecca to Jerusalem and then up into the heavens. As he ascended through the different levels of heaven, he met the prophets who had come before him. In the sixth heaven, he met Musa. The account of this meeting, narrated in a famous hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari 349, reveals Musa's enduring legacy as a guide and a mercy for all of humanity. During this ascension, Prophet Muhammad was brought into the divine presence and given the commandment for the daily prayers, 50 prayers per day. On his descent, he passed by Musa again. Musa, the seasoned prophet who had spent a lifetime leading the stubborn children of Israel, immediately asked, thoughtful, "What has your Lord enjoined upon your nation?" When Prophet Muhammad told him it was 50 prayers, Musa's pastoral instinct kicked in. Firmly, "Go back to your Lord and ask for a reduction," Musa urged. "Concerned, for your nation will not be able to bear it. I have tested the children of Israel and have experience with them." Prophet Muhammad returned and asked for a reduction, and it was lessened. He descended again, and again Musa told him it was too much and sent him back to ask for another reduction. This continued, with Musa acting as a loving, concerned advisor, sending Prophet Muhammad back and forth until the number was reduced from 50 to 5. Even then, Musa urged him to go back one last time, but Prophet Muhammad, out of humility before his Lord, said he was content. A voice then called out, reverent voice, "I have approved my obligation and made it light for my servants. They will be rewarded as if they had performed 50. This incredible event is a profound manifestation of divine mercy. It shows that Musa's concern did not end with his own people. Even after his death, from his honored station in the heavens, he showed immense love and concern for the Ummah, or nation, of a prophet he had never met. He became an instrument of Allah's mercy for all of us. His struggle with his own rebellious people gave him the wisdom to know what future generations could bear, and he used that wisdom to intercede for them. This reinforces the Quranic principle of never losing hope in God's compassion, a lesson at the heart of the story of Prophet Yaqub. And never despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, No one despairs of the mercy of Allah except the disbelieving people. Musa's persistence is a model for our own prayers, teaching us to always ask for Allah's ease and compassion. The story of Musa's last days and his encounter with the angel of death shows us the reality of our own mortality. But his encounter with Prophet Muhammad in the heavens shows us the reality of an eternal legacy and the boundless mercy of God. His life was a testament to struggle, but his afterlife is a testament to his honored station. He was denied entry into the physical, holy land, but was granted a place of honor in the heavens, from where his final act was one of supreme benefit to all believers until the end of time. His story is not just a warning, it is a profound source of hope.